You are listening to bangradio.net.
Welcome to Bang Radio. My name is Steve Maeda. I am your host for today's episode 100. Man, thank you so much for supporting us all the way up until this point. If you're listening to this on iTunes or Stitcher, we now have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/thesexuallifetv. Go to it, subscribe to it. You can watch us talking, all that sort of stuff. And as you will see, our Bang Radio episodes will evolve in production. They're going to be pretty awesome. In 2015 will be a great year for podcasting for us. Subscribe to it, leave a comment, subscribe to our iTunes or Stitcher page, comments, all that sort of stuff. Get involved, get plugged in. Why? Because this is what the sexual life is about. This is what everything that I do and promote, work with, whether it's the 21 Convention, all the way to Venusian Arts, to the sexual life, where it all started. What I believe in and what we are talking about here on episode 100, a continuance of episode 99, is the importance of authenticity. What TSL has always stood for. And in 10 years, what we have done, creating an entire social dynamic that not only went from, if you have major social anxiety, to connecting, to opening, to talking to somebody, to building rapport, to being sexual, to learning how to date, to have relationships, to move on to a true lifestyle without having an archetype. So what we stand for here at TSL and what Bang Radio is really about is its daily episodes, sometimes twice a day, on how we can learn this social dynamic to be the better man, making sex normal, making masculinity normal, making femininity normal, so that we don't have to be abnormal to do it. So that we don't need an ideology to guide us. We don't need a myth to guide us. We don't need to be somebody else to truly be what we were born to be. I'm in a relationship, in a small deal or a big deal, in a sex act, in a fantasy or something like that, it wouldn't have anywhere to set root. But it set root in that door that I had closed as a kid that was there. And man, I can't tell you how many times. I can't fucking tell you. I mean, I cannot. It's just crazy. It's like where life may lead you, but in like just some places, and I don't even consider them dark anymore, but in some places that were really confusing and bizarre human acts where I'm just like, holy shit, there's fucking a naked girl, she's passed out. We clearly did a bunch of drugs. I don't know what's going on. There's like another dude in a video camera and like some weird shit, fucking sex, drugs, whatever stuff, right?
Yeah.
But then you're going, okay, I'm not going to talk about that. Or then there's the time where maybe it's in the sex act where I start getting into it in a certain way. And, maybe I think about violence. Maybe I think about something really, really, controlling or whatever. But I don't want to see that as part of my sexuality. I see that is a part of this dysfunction that I can't believe I thought that and I should feel bad. A girl that I may have felt love or peace with, all of a sudden, at my point of coming or during the sex act or usually right before I come, the mind changes, and I won't let myself go there. Or people, and the other thing too is people who aren't having sex and they're watching porn. And it's like, I like, these rape gang, dude, I fucking love that shit. That for me, and here's what's crazy. For me to think now with who I am now, that makes me a sadistic person is wrong. But here's how it does make me a sadistic person. If I'm unwilling to admit it, if I'm unwilling to admit it to myself, if I'm unwilling to attempt to experience it, then I will be a sadistic. Only with a secret, only with fear of self can your mind truly be broken and shaped and used as a pawn in somebody else's game who isn't even playing. It's basically a game with you and your own shame. And it's just so fucked up. When you hear guys talking about their porn addictions or whatever, God, I love
I love porn, but I don't have shame about sex anymore. I've been there and I probably could again, but it's really one of those things that I love people and I love talking to them because that's the only way I learn like, wait a minute, here's the value in honesty. Here's the value in fucking talking and sharing them, like hearing somebody's story about how they fucked up, and it's better to just be yourself. God, man, and I learned so little. I learned how to get immediate success and long-term pain from people telling me to not be myself. But God, when I hear a story about somebody being themselves, it's like it just reminds me of how important that is. But I would never get that from just living life in my own head.
Yeah, if you don't remember your own story, it really opens you up to being manipulated by other people. I mean, they start pushing your buttons, and you don't know what it's connected to. You don't know where it came from, and it really gives other people the opportunity to use you and define define yourself to you if you don't remember what that original story was. And I don't want I don't want you to think that of this in terms of like therapy, where you go to the therapist and they talk about your childhood, and try to find out all these stories. That that's not going to help you. It's experience that's going to help you. Knowing what your story is going to protect you
It's really
strongly.
true.
Yeah.
I mean, the talent of a therapist, I'm a fan of therapy, and like some people really talk shit on it or whatever, but I see it as a main point, but it is useless and meaningless if you do not learn how to apply it to your life. Totally useless if
Right.
you
It's about
cannot
the
live it.
ability to experience fully everything and then let it go and go to the next thing.
And that's actually, what I remember. I was talking to my buddy Dave, who I always bring up, but I said, like, dude, I might get $100,000. I was in this huge negotiation. And I was like, man, I'm bad with money. Can you manage it? Because he's really good with money. It's like fucking bizarre. It's fucked up. It's like to the point where it's like, dude, Jesus Christ. But he's like, well, I could, but what would be the point of that? You wouldn't learn anything. And okay, so you'd have some money.
Oh, he's a nice guy.
Yeah, yeah. No, man. And I was just like, what the fuck? But really,
What would be the point? You wouldn't experience any pain.
it was just so black and white to him of how that was not really an option. And I just think that there's so man, just so much that we get from experience and connection with people that man, it's fucking massive. And we can't pass that up, but we have to be ourselves. We have to be able to tell our story. And those people with PTSD, and uh I just know a lot of people with it, and talk about it, get help, join a group of like-minded people. I think that's one of the most important things. But with PTSD, the absolute, okay, there's many methods. EMDR, I've done it, man. I've done that. It was a cool experience. All sorts of different therapy, but it all revolves around talking to people and expressing it. Expressing it. You know what's fucking crazy? This is what I love about my buddies who have PTSD. We are the most fucked up. It's great. And after a while, you start to see that change out, but just raunchy, twisted, like the scope of human choice and screwed upness and situations is just on a completely different level. It's badass. But and it's alleviating. And the conversations we have, most of society would be disgusted by, but somehow, whether you've seen that through violence or human choice or just stuff that you've done, or, and I don't know if you've ever had this, but like if you're in pain, like let's say if you break your leg or twist your knee or your arm, it's severe pain, you get kicked in the liver, but then you continue to get punched and you continue to be inflicted on pain. And it seems like there's more and more and more. That's a huge, huge trauma, huge trauma. And when it doesn't stop and that panic is sustained, it hits hard and it changes. It gets received in a whole different way of your neurology. And what's interesting actually about PTSD is the people that tend to get it, it's something like 90 or plus percent of them have had trauma in their past. And trauma is not always pain. A lot of the time it's exclusion. And that's the power of social. When when we have the disconnect and we feel it, that's traumatic. But what heals it always is the connection. And I would say that's connection of sex, it's connection of touch, but massively the connection of the thing inside you, the story inside you, the expression inside you getting out and interacting with somebody else.
Maybe that's what it is. Gary was asking earlier this evening, um, how is it that I can have this love for women? And yet I look back on my relationships and so much of it has been bad. So many times, you know, I've been used and disappointed and, heartbroken. Anytime you're going to be in love, you're going to end up heartbroken and had my life just just demolished by women. And yet I love them. I mean, women from years ago, I still love them. And how can that be? I, I don't know, but somehow I managed to to assimilate all that trauma and still end up loving them and thanking them and being grateful that they were in my life. I, I still don't understand why I got that paradox, because so much of it was such a disaster.
Yeah,
But then
man.
again, so much of it was ecstasy.
Yeah, it's I think it's really such an important thing to your hate, your hate for everything. And this is what, man, I really wish people would get in touch with this and want to think about this more and kind of promote it more. But you got to be careful how you say it. But your hate, to exclude that is, man, it just kills you. Your hate is such a great window to you. It may not be a part of you, it might be a reaction to something, just as happiness might be, but the root of that is a part of you. You've got to own it. You've got to be in touch with it. This thing that with guys, so many guys in the community come in with hatred towards women. You've got to own that. I've had that. It still comes up. That doesn't mean that I have to hate in an action, but it means that I have to be okay with that story with myself, and
Well, I don't get much in terms of hate, but I get anger, and that's between the two things. Between hate and anger, we all get some.
yeah. But man, what a great thing. We were born with emotions. And why? You know, we were born with emotions to express them, never to hide them. What a terrible thing. man, yeah, just that's another thing too. Like I went to this seminar about people who have had who like violent crimes and criminal histories, and they're like, people in society do not understand you. You can't bring this up to the common man. And I get that, because there's certain things, especially with like sex or trauma or violence, drugs, people may not get that right away. They may not be able to relate with you. And if you're being impersonal and you're shocking people, it's not a connection. But don't hide that from yourself. That means you have to be wise about how you communicate what you say. You have to be able to read situations and people. And if people can't understand it, then don't express it, or express it in another way. But that does not mean you do not be yourself. And I think that that's so important. There's these guys and girls who are like, well, what do I say on a job interview? And what do you say? And they're really no, but the answer is to hide. And that's terrible. I mean, yeah, be wise. Be wise about it. But you got to learn how to be yourself with the world around you.
Thank you so much for being a part of this. We are taking it to video here in the late stages of 2014 and into 2015. We are producing episode after episode like we have been doing for the last 5 months with Bang Radio. Man, the social dynamic to be the better man. That is what the sexual life stands for. That is what we are about. And that's what you can tap into and expect here at Bang Radio. If you subscribe to Bang Radio, if you get involved in it, if you download our PDFs and quick guides, go to thesexuallife.com/100 to get that quick guide. I forgot to mention that in the opening episode, or in the opening, the bumper. But man, if you get involved with this, you'll become a great person. You'll build a great dialogue. You'll learn to communicate with yourself. You'll be a true social artist, not somebody who's fake, not somebody that is afraid of sex, not somebody who is bound by a message or a story of somebody else, but bound by your own. That is what we are here to cultivate. That is what is already within you. You're born to be social. You're born to be sexual. All right. Thank you so much for watching, listening, wherever you're at. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Subscribe to us on Stitcher. And let's all be a part of this movement of the social dynamic to be the better man.